Good morning and God bless. Hope y'all are doing well. I need to go over the biggest news that's coming, at least for Gigantamax news and Dynamax news, because there's 3 new Pokemon that are coming out in Dynamax. One being Gigantamax. You're going to want to raid them because, especially with new typings that we're getting, they're going to be very important for the future. If you want to directly support the channel, there's the Patreon in description. I am posting a big behind the scenes video tomorrow, so if you want to check it out, you definitely can. Now, the first big news that I want to talk about is Gigantamax Lapras is going to be released in Pokemon Go. So now I'm going to go over each counter. And hopefully you were able to do this during the wild area event, because this is more than likely the best Pokemon to use. As it sees here, Gigantamax Toxtricity is going to be the #1 Pokemon to use for Lapras raids, with the attacks in specific Spark and G-Max Stun Shock. That is going to be the best chance, the best outlook you'll have if you use Gigantamax Lapras. Gigantamax Lapras is a hard-hitting Pokemon. We already know Lapras is a hard-hitting Pokemon alone, so having a really high counter is going to be super important. Number 2, Gigantamax Venusaur with Vine Whip, as well as G-Max Vine Lash. Now, Gigantamax Venusaur came out pretty good long while ago, so hopefully you have some of these Gigantamaxes, especially because some of these are really big, including as well as Gigantamax Gengar with Lick and G-Max Terror. A lot of the biggest counters are going to be Gigantamax. Now, luckily for us, there is a couple Pokemon that I'm going to name that aren't not just Gigantamax, which is going to be great, because I know, including myself, it's really difficult to get a lot of big groups of people to be able to do Gigantamax raids. So number 4 being Machamp with counter and dynamic punch. We will talk about that further on the Dynamax Machop, because that's gonna be pretty cool. Number 5 being Rillaboom with Razor Leaf and Grass Knot. Now, personally, from when I see these top counters, the biggest thing I'm seeing is Grass. Now, Lapras is an ice type, so figure that as you will. I would think mainly it's a fire type that would be best, which that why number 6 is Gigantamax Charizard with Wing Attack and G-Max Wildfire. Now, also, I believe Lapras is a water and an ice type, so that's why fire should be pretty decent, but since it's water, it's not going to be the best. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. But Venusaur is number 7, which Vine Whip, and Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant's always, I think every single time I think of a Venusaur attack, that's the number 1. Number 8 is Toxtricity, the low-key form with Spark and Wild Charge, as well as number 9 is the Toxtricity with Amped form and Spark Wild Charge, with number 10 being Metagross with the Bullet Punch and Meteor Mash, which I've never seen a Dynamax Pokemon with Meteor Mash yet, but would be interesting to see. But I did want to go over those top 10 Pokemon for Lapras. That would be very important, again, especially with not that many people are going to have the 40 people or higher when it comes to these raids. So more than likely, if you're someone who has to have a little less of people in raids, biggest recommendation is using the best counters, like the counters I just said. And note that Gigantamaxes, when you take them out, you'll get way more rewards than you usually do, which makes it super beneficial. And with the fact that Lapras is going to be the first Gigantamax Pokemon, other than, actually, literally the only Gigantamax Pokemon that I can think of that has a ice type with G-Max Renaissance. So that is going to be really exciting to see Lapras. But there's also 2 more Dynamax Pokemon that are going to be released that we'll talk about. With addition, I will say Lapras can be potentially shiny as well, which I love when they do that. I can't wait to see what this shiny looks like. But there's also 2 Dynamax Pokemon that I want to go over. We'll go over their counters and we'll talk about if they're good or not. So I do want to say it is December 8th is when Gigantamax Lapras is going to be released in the game. However, Pokemon like Dynamax Machop, this is huge. This is the first Pokemon as a Dynamax in Pokemon Go that's going to have a fighting type attack. Now, this is very important because there's a lot of Dynamax Pokemon in the future that they're more than likely going to add that you're going to absolutely need Machamp. Just like how Excadrill came out, super key Pokemon to grab. Toxtricity was a super good Pokemon to grab. Machop is going to be the same thing. So we're going to go over the top 10 counters just so you can get this Machop as quick as possible, because honestly, you should not have to take too long on Machop. So we'll go over the top 10 real quick. Then there's one more Dynamax Pokemon that is also coming out that actually I think is going to be pretty good as well. So the number one counter is Metagross with a Psychic type. Now, the counters for Machop is 1.6 weakness to Flying, Psychic, and Fairy. Now, as of yet, we don't really have any Fairy types when it comes to Dynamaxes. However, top 10 we should have, which number one being Metagross, which I feel maybe some have. I think, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do one. Definitely need to get one, since Metagross is kind of hard to get now and it's really good. Number two being Kingler with Metal Claw and Razor Shell. Now, we'll talk about Kingler later. Charizard with Air Slash, Toxtricity with Acid and Discharge, Inteleon with Water Gun and Surf, Excadrill with Mudshot and Iron. Matang, even the baby version of Metagross, is good against Machamp with Zen Headbutt and Psyshock. Sorry. Bro, dyslexia hits a little bit. Gengar at number 8 with Hex and Sludge Bomb. Haunter with Astonish and Sludge Bomb, with number 10 being Machamp himself with Karate Chop and Dynamic Punch. So, with Machop, biggest recommendation, use either Kingler with the Metal type attack or Metagross. Now, there's one more Pokemon that I want to go over that I think is going to be super beneficial, believe it or not, just because I just think it's important of a Pokemon, just because every single Dynamax Pokemon that they brought out as of so far, they have needed to be used for the next Dynamax, if that makes any sense. So Toxtricity, when that came out, that's gonna be a huge counter towards Lapras. So every single Pokemon that we've had has a big, intel for what's coming next. So we're gonna go over Krabby, because Krabby's also going to be a Dynamax that's going to be coming into raids. So let's go over those counters as well. With the there is a error on me trying to find where I'd usually find the info. My computer is not loading it. However, Krabby is a water type, so more than likely you're going to want to use counters that are against water type, which is mainly grass or electric. So using something like Toxtricity, using something like Ivysaur, Venusaur, or Rillaboom, maybe even Lapras, are going to be your best counters towards Krabby. So good luck to every single one of y'all doing these raids. God bless. Jesus loves y'all. Thank y'all so much for showing up. See y'all in the next one. Have a fantastic day.